Hello, and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm gonna do the mid-year freakout tag. I've never done this before. This is my first time ever doing a mid-year freakout tag. I decided to do it because a sweet and lovely and awesome fellow YouTuber, booktuber here, Secrets Read, she tagged me in her video, and one, thank you so much. That was so nice. This is her channel, and she shouted me out. She shouted me out twice already, which I am like so appreciative of. It's amazing to know that there are other booktubers who are watching my videos. There are quite a few that I've found out about recently that I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it's a silly thing. I know, parasocial relationships, whatever. Anyway, it's my first time doing this, but she tagged me in that video, so I wanted to make my own. I've never done it before, so this will be my first year ever doing a mid-year freakout tag, and I've got stuff to tell you about. So before I start, there are a few questions, and I want to be clear that some people's questions are different from other people's questions. Some people have been doing these for years and years and years, and so they've changed questions. So I tried to pick the ones that I knew were like consistent amongst people. But if there's some in here that you've never heard of or that I've changed, it's all right. We're just checking to see how my reading's going so far. That's really all we're doing. So the awkward elephant in the room is, I don't think that's the phrase, but whatever. The awkwardness in the room is that I've not been reading this month. June was Juning to me. I started out the month strong and ended the month very not great. I ended up only reading 2 whole books in the month of June, which is crazy numbers for what I'm used to reading. And I have yet to finish a book this month at all. I am reading at different books, but I've not like dedicated any like real time to reading. So I'm hoping that now that I've got my job and I've started working again, that this will be a good starting point again to like get back into reading. I have another vlog that I'll be releasing soon after this one of that time between June and now, that just explaining everything and going through all my stuff. But in the meantime, I wanted to go ahead and do this video. It's quick, easy, something to jump into. So thus far, this year, I have read 46 books so far, which is pretty cool. I usually set my reading goal for 50 books in a year. So to have already almost read 50 books by the middle of the year is pretty crazy to me. But I've been enjoying reading outside of this last month a lot. So I've read 56 books thus far. My average star rating for the year so far is 3.7 stars, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Have read a lot of horror. It's my most read genre thus far this year, with thriller being a not close second, but fantasy being a very close third to second place. So that's pretty cool. I like those genres. I'm not a huge thriller fan, to be honest, but I feel like a lot of horror books get lumped into thriller because they aren't exactly horror. And I feel like a lot of things that get called horror are actually just thrillers and mysteries. So it kind of is par for the course. And I will say that I do enjoy generally thrillers. It's just not my favorite thing. But yeah, jumping into the freakout tag. I have my information up over here, so if I'm looking off screen, that's why. First and foremost, best book of 2026. So far, it's a tie, okay? There's a tie for first place, and you're gonna see this as a theme. I'm not good at choosing. I'm not good at picking stuff, so bear with me. But the best books that I've read thus far in 2026, again, it's tied for 2 different books. And one of those books, I don't have it with me because I've been loaning it to all of my friends and family. It's somewhere around, I don't know where it's at. I don't have it. But that would be Dungeon Crawler Carl. I read this at the beginning of the year and I was absolutely obsessed with it. I loved it so much. All of my family is reading it. I made my sister read it and I made my husband read it. He then has influenced my sister-in-law to read it and his cousin to read it. I've influenced a lot of people to pick up Dungeon Crawler Carl. My previous job, our book club, read Dungeon Crawler Carl right before I was fired. I influenced them to like go ahead and read it as a group. It's such a good book. I really, really loved it. I enjoyed that book so much. But the other first place book for 2026 thus far is The Raven Scholar. This was really good. This is one of the only books that I read in June, but I really enjoyed reading this. Even though I was going through a depression slump at the time, this was so good, and I really, really enjoyed it. I cannot wait for the next books to come out. This is going to be a trilogy, which I love. I love when book series are set at a number. I don't want to go into a series and not know how many books I'm going to be dedicating my time to. So I love that this is just a trilogy. I feel like that's very manageable. It is a chunk. She's chunky, but she's so good. I did a full spoiler reading vlog of this. If you want to watch it, I'll link that up here. But I really, really enjoyed this book a lot. It was beautifully written. It was so fun. It was up and down and happy and sad. And it was so good. Also, a fantasy that doesn't have a lot of romance inherently. It does have romance, but it's not romance to see. It is a fantasy that does have two people who like each other. And I really enjoyed that. I don't need every fantasy to be like these two people are obsessed with each other. There's another series that you'll see here in a little while that I feel similarly about. So anyway, The Raven Scholar and Dungeon Crawler, The Raven Scholar and Dungeon Crawler Carl are my two favorite books of 2026 thus far that I have read. Next, the worst book that I read so far in 2026. I'm sure that if you've watched my videos thus far this year, you'll know which one I'm going to say, but it's going to be A Short Stay in Hell. And I don't have this book anymore because I unhauled it. I hated it so much. I actually threw it in the video that I was reading it in because I was so annoyed by the book. If you haven't watched that vlog, you can watch that here. It was my novella reading vlog. This was the worst book I've ever read. I don't know why people like this book so much, and I can't tell you why, but I hated it. I gave this 1 star because I don't do 0 stars. It got 1 star. 0 stars for me is a DNF. So 1 star, A Short Stay in Hell. I'm not even going to go into it. If you want to know all my thoughts, you can watch that video. Best sequel is actually going to just jump right back to the same answers for number 1, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl and Raven Scholar. I know they're not a follow-up book, but they are sequels that I started that I did enjoy. As if I had to pick like a best sequel, I don't think that I've read any that I would pick for this year. I have read the second book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and I did not absolutely love that one. So there's that. It just wasn't my favorite. I'm sorry. But my worst sequel that I've read thus far this year was Merciless 2. Because what was that? I gave that a 2.5 star. I did not enjoy it. I did not like it. I did not have fun with it. I don't have it because I unhauled it. So this is the cover if you're interested. I liked Merciless 1. I will say this is like a young adult fantasy or young adult horror. And I really liked the first one. I thought the first one was good. I did read that when I was younger. So I think it kind of has more of a nostalgia for me. But I did not like number 2. I did not like number 2. And it's really made me wonder if I'm actually going to read books 3 and 4 because I do own 3 and 4. And I don't know if they get better or worse. So we'll see, maybe. Next up, new releases that I have not read yet, but that I do want to read. Couldn't narrow it down. It's supposed to be a new release, but y'all gonna see new releases and you're just gonna be happy about it, okay? First, we have Turn Off the Light. This is by Jackie Walters. I read Dearest by Jackie Walters when I had just had my daughter, literally like not even a month postpartum. And I was reading that book and it was hitting. It was hitting. I was going through it. And so was the character in that book. And because I loved that book so much, maybe because of the timing, I decided to pick up her second book. Dearest was her debut. I do believe. So I picked up her second book, which is Turn Off the Light. I do want to read this and see if I still feel similarly about her writing and how she writes and the stories that she tells now that it's not connected to the life I'm living. So this one should be interesting. I believe Turn Off the Lights, we are following Edith. She's a healer. And we're following Edith and Claire. Claire doesn't believe in ghosts. Edith can talk to ghosts. And they're going to go to a house and do some spooky shit. I don't know. It sounded interesting when I read it, the synopsis before. Oh yeah, that's right. This is a time shift one. This is one of those ones where they're separated by years. Edith and Claire are separated by 400 years. So I'm interested in this one. Very excited to read this. I do believe this has become, I feel like this would be considered a horror thriller, in my opinion. Another book that I'm super excited about is This House Will Feed. This is actually a Twisted Retreat edition of the book. And I'm really excited to read this because I know of a lot of people who have read it and really, really loved it. It seems to be kind of like a folk horror in a way, very much just following some people during the Irish famine. And I don't know, I've heard really great things. I'm really going off of vibes on this one, if I'm being honest. Another new release that I'm really excited to read is Headlights by CJ Lead. This cover art is what got me interested in this book before I even read the synopsis. This is an aardvark version, and basically we're following a special agent named Daniel, and he is ready for a change, and he wants to get out of the FBI, but then a case that he's been on, or that he was on, I believe, a while back, comes back into current time when another body is found, and there's live bodies that have dead body things on them or something to that effect. I don't know. It sounded very creepy and weird and interesting. Again, I think this is considered like a horror thriller in my opinion. Maybe horror mystery. Another one is Five. I saw this one, and this was one of my anticipated reads of 2026. And they came out with it at Aardvark, so I snagged it as soon as I saw it. Essentially, we're following 5 different people on a train, I believe. Yeah, 5 different people who are waiting on a train. One of them dies, and we gotta go through each person and figure out what's going on. Sounds very interesting to me. Sounds very similar to Five Survive that I read by Jackie... Nope, that's not her name. By Holly Jackson. She's an author who wrote A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. She also wrote Five Survived. I read that in a vlog. This sounds like a probably well done version of that potentially. So that's why I wanted to read this. And then the final book that I have in my hands is The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clark. This was also co-written by V.E. Schwab, and I love V.E. Schwab, so I wanted to give it a try. I don't know if I'm going to love it, but I am excited to see if I do. It's a thriller following authors who have to write an ending to a story, and the best one chosen wins something. I don't know. Sounds interesting. Okay. I've never read any books like this, I don't think. There seems to be a lot of books that follow authors doing something and then dying, or potentially dying, or doing some kind of author contest. Authors disappearing when they're writing books. I don't know. It's a trope, and I don't know what it is. I've never read any. So I'm going to read this one and see how I like it. And the books that I don't have in my hands that I do want to read are Nothing Tastes as Good. I really want this one. I just have not found it physically anywhere to buy it. I do want to read this though. And then the other book I want to read is Odessa. I've heard great things about this one also, and I'm super excited to read it. I do have some other books that are on order that I'm waiting to come in. So I have Paul Tremblay's, the Electric Sheep one. I can't remember the whole title. It's way too long. But I'm waiting on that one. That should be coming in from Aardvark. And then I also got a Chuck Tingle, The Fabulous Bodies book, I believe is what that one was. So I'm waiting on that to come in so I can read that as well. So I've got quite a few different anticipated reads that I still haven't gotten to. But we got time, girl. I can make vlogs out of all of these. Next, most anticipated horrors to come out at the rest of the year. So like ones that haven't come out yet. Deal my iPad so I can read y'all synopsis. Okay, so at the time I'm making this book has not come out yet. So it's July 15th. On July 21st, there's a book called I Do Not Apologize for My Position on Men. The title grabbed me, girl. Ray Wild's I Do Not Apologize for My Position on Men is a collection of standalone sapphic horror short stories, a quadrilogy of connected stories, and an interactive pick-a-path novelette. And I like a pick-a-path. I like to pick a path, and that sounded so good to me. Fun, exciting, engaging, and I like that title. Also sapphic horror. I love that. So very excited to read that one. That comes out again July 21st. The next book comes out August 11th, which is Devil Inside by Clay McLeod Chapman. A man who's back from the dead meets a woman who's from somewhere even worse And this is a horror romance about love, possession, and just a little murder. And that sounds good. I really want to find a horror romance that I like. I was not a huge fan of the 10 Dates one that I read. I don't even remember the name of it. I wasn't a huge fan of that one. So I do want to read an actual horror romance and see if I like it. So we've got Devil Inside. The next book coming out in August is Blood Rising. That is a sequel to Blood Slaves, which I read. That was a Twisted Retreat book that I read this year. And Blood Rising is coming out this year in August 25th by Marcus Redman. And again, it's just a sequel following the vampires that we met in the first book. I'm very excited for it. I want to read it. I loved Blood Slaves. Spoiler alert. After August, we got some Septembers. I got a few books in September that I want to read. September 8th, we have a book coming out by Mason Coyle. Spoiler alert, liked his writing. He wrote William in Exile, which we read in a vlog as well. He's coming out with a book called Driven, a terrifying locked room mystery, this time set in a cutting edge autonomous car. I'm here for it. I want to read it. I think that he might be a favorite of mine because I really loved William. Spoiler alert. 2 books that come out on September 22nd. First, we have Sometimes I Scare Myself by Geneva Rose. I like Geneva Rose. I think she's a great author. And she has a book coming out. And the synopsis says, not all nightmares come from sleep. 3 horror stories, a dinner party, a quiet house, a roadside stop. And yeah, that's the synopsis. Sounds good to me. The next one I'm so excited for comes out September 22nd, and it's called Traps and Specters Stories by Philip Fracassi. Philip Fracassi wrote Boys in the Valley. Loved that book. Also wrote The Autumn Retirement Home. I can't remember the full name of it. Have not read that one, but I do want to read it. But I really liked Boys in the Valley. And he's come out with a short story collection. So I'm really excited to read that one. And it has an introduction by Matt Dinniman, which is really cool. Love Matt Dinniman. So we have those books. And then the final book that we have comes out in October. And this one sounds very interesting. It's called Horror Picture Book, A Bad Book. And this is by Miyuki Miyabi and Hasanari Yoshida. So sorry if I mispronounce any of those. This comes out October 6th. And it is quoted as, "Nice to meet you. I'm a bad book. Deceptively simple picture books with sinister stories. Somewhere in the world, there's a book that will teach you very bad things. You say you don't want a book like that, but someday you will. I know you will." And these award-winning authors present the most terrifyingly bad book in the world. And I'm excited to read that. That sounds really fun. I like the idea of it being a horror picture book. So those are all my anticipateds for the rest of the year that I have found. I'm sure there's going to be much, much more once the year gets started, but those are the ones that I've found that I'm interested in reading. My biggest surprise books of the year, and again, this is multiples, just deal with it, okay? You're going to be fine. It's going to be okay. Stop being mean to me. So the 3 books that I chose for this, my biggest surprise, were William, again, by Mason Coyle. I loved this book so much. I thought this was so fun and exciting and interesting and weird. I had a great time reading this. We also had Hush My Darling. This was a Twisted Retreat book by Lee Kenny. And this was a crazy wild time, very much Appalachian horror. I enjoyed this. Twists and turns, my dude, twists and turns. This was such a good one. And then finally, we have Blood Slaves. This is another Twisted Retreat. This is by Marcus Redman. Again, this one has a sequel coming out this year. Very excited about it. I loved this book. I loved the idea of vampires and the way that they were told and created and made. This is a very interesting story to me. I'm very much into vampires. I'm a vampire girl. And so this was just so much fun and a very different take on vampires and the powers that they can have. So we have a favorite new author. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you guys and let you know, this is not my all-time favorite author that I've read of the year, but they're a new to me author and I really enjoy them and I haven't mentioned them yet. I will say that there are honorable mentions that I can put in here and I will, but the author that I chose is going to be Rachel Harrison. I read 2 of her books this year. You can watch that video here if you would like. And I really, really liked them. I loved this book the most. Black Sheep was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but it was okay. But I really liked her books. And so I'm very much interested. I know she has a huge backlog. And so that's kind of why I picked her as a favorite new author, because I want to read more from her and see how I feel about it. She does have another book also coming out at the end of the year. I did read that one and I didn't put it on my anticipated for the rest of the year because it doesn't actually sound good to me. It is a time loop story, and I don't know that I'm a big fan of time loops, to be honest. I could be persuaded to potentially read it, and I might, but I chose Rachel Harrison. Some honorable mentions, and again, the reason I didn't pick them is because I've already mentioned them multiple times in this video, but we got Mason Coyle. Really liked the 2 books from him that I read, and he has another one coming out this year. And then also Matt Dinneman. I really, really love Dungeon Crawler Carl. The second book wasn't my favorite, but his writing is very good. I very much enjoy it. I do have Operation Bounce House that I still need to read, which is completely separate from the Crawler series. And then I obviously have all the other Crawler books that I need to listen to and read. And I'm probably just going to listen to them because my husband owns them on Audible. I don't love Audible, you guys. Amazon sucks, but those audiobooks are primo. So I'll probably read those, but those would be, I would say, my other 2 runners up for favorite authors or debut authors that I've read this year, new to me authors, however you want to phrase that. So those would be my author picks. And then my newest fictional crush, and I'm going to change that from crush to just favorite fictional character. And that's going to be Princess Donut Obs. Who else? Who else can you choose but Princess Donut? If you chose anyone else and you read Dungeon Crawler Carl this year, I'm looking at you funny. I'm looking at you real funny like. So there's that. Books that made me cry. I only picked 1. You're welcome. Several did make me cry, but this one made me cry the most. And that was Wild Dark Shore. I read this because Books and Lala really loved this book, and I really also loved this book. I do give this a 5-star. I didn't pick it as my best book of 2026 because I really feel like Raven Scholar and Dungeon Crawler Carl outweigh this book, but this is such a good book, you guys. The ending obliterated me. I cried and sobbed so badly, and then I continued to cry after I was done trying to retell the story to my husband. This was such a good book. I really, really enjoyed it. It hit me in the feels. I just, it's so good. So good. I could cry again. I'm not gonna, but I could if I wanted to. A book that made me happy. This is a hard one because I read a lot of horror. So I was like, none of these horrors made me happy. That would be really weird. But a book that did make me happy that I read was Sheets. This was so sweet and so cute. I really enjoyed this little manga. It's very, very beautiful and also very fun. It was just very enjoyable. There are 2 books or 2 mangas in this series that I have not read. So I do want to get those at some point and read them, but I truly enjoyed this so much. It was just beautiful, cute, fun, cozy. This is, I think, would be a good book if you're looking for something to read for like a summer ween thing. I think this is perfect for that, honestly. And then my most beautiful book so far that I've received this year would be Project Hail Mary. My sister made this edition for me. It has a cover with the red light astrophage. If you've read the book, you know what that means. If you haven't read the book, that's too bad for you. But it has a book sleeve on it that is just the red light astrophage. But when you take it off, the cover is the astrophage and space before the red light is turned on. And I just absolutely love these colors. My sister did an amazing job with this covering and making this and creating this. It's so beautiful. To be very transparent, she did not come up with this design. This is a design she found that some other creator has made, but she recreated it and remade it herself. So anyway, this is cherished, not only because I absolutely love this book, but also because my sister made this for me, and that makes it 70 times more special. So there's also end papers that say, well, you're not alone anymore, buddy. Neither of us are. And it just, the feels of it all, you guys. Such a good book. All right. And then finally, we have books to read by the end of the year. So books to read by the end of the year, I have quite a few, so I'm just going to run through them. I'm just going to run through them. One of the books that I want to read by the end of the year is Empire of the Vampire. Somebody was talking about this book recently. I don't know who you are, and I don't remember who you are. But somebody was reading this. It was Sid was reading this. I think Gavin reads it all, picked it for her in a video that she made recently. And she's absolutely loving it. She was kicking her feet and giggling and gaggling. And I was like, enough said. I didn't finish watching her video. I clicked off because I didn't want to be spoiled. But what she said about this book, I was like, oh, I want to read that. That sounds even more interesting than I expected it to be. Spicy Cats also read this book and she liked it a lot. And so that was the reason I initially got it. But I've heard great things about this book. Like I said, so very excited to read this one. I also want to get into the series, the Shadow of the God series by John Gwynne. I love a dragon. I do like fantasy. And I've heard great things about this book and this author and this series. I want to get into the John Gwynne stuff. I want to be a part of the group. I want to be what everyone else is doing and where everybody else is at. So I picked this one. And then my final fantasies that I want to read, I only have 2 of the 3 books, but I do want to finish the Throne of Glass series. Earlier, I told you that there was another romance fantasy-ish type of book that I was really enjoying, and it is the Throne of Glass series. I feel like our main character has a romance, but it's not everything. Like, she's not just like spending all of her time oogling and having sex with her counterparts. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate that our character can be strong and independent and fight for herself and do all of these things and love someone. And that's not the full story. So there's that. But I want to finish this series. I have these 2 books to read. They're tabby-tabbed because they are a tandem read. So I want to read these. I can't wait to get into them. I'm very excited to start this so I can finish this. But I do want to read these 2 and then the final book in the series. And that would be my fantasies that I want to read by the end of the year. Then I have a nonfiction that I recently acquired, The Radium Girls. This is a dark story of America's shining women, and I really want to read this. It sounds very interesting. I want to get more into nonfiction, and I truly want to get more into like messed up nonfiction, just like screwed up, weird girl nonfiction, dark history nonfiction. And this is one of the books that I've got. I have a multitude of them, but this is one of them that I'm like wanting to prioritize to read this year for sure. And then finally, we have Jane Eyre. I'm on a Bronte kick and I want to read this. Also, I'm on a classical reading kick and I want to read this. So I plan to read this at some point. I want to do a full spoiler vlog for reading this book because it is a classic. So if you haven't read it already, that's not my problem. But this is one of the books that I also want to read by the end of the year. Generally speaking too, just want to read more fantasy and more horror. I have a whole cabinet over here that is nothing but fantasy and horror books. I need to read them. They're double stacked, front row, back row, tops. There's too many books in there. I need to read them. So that's my reading plans. The final thing I kind of changed and added was just wanting to talk about some of my favorite things that are not necessarily book related, but are just like things that I really enjoyed so far this year and that I'm continuing to enjoy. One of those things is crafts. I have really gotten into book bedazzling as of late. I'm very much enjoying it. I have only done 1 book and I am not finished with it. It's going to take me a while, but it's been a fun task to do, to take my mind off of things, but also to like, just like relax, just chill out. I can like, I don't know what it is. It's not mindless, but it is mindless in a way. Anyway, this is the book that I'm bedazzling because this was my favorite book of last year. This is what I've done so far. It's absolutely so gorgeous. I love this. I think this is so fun. I got a bedazzling kit on Amazon. It was very cheap. I think this was like $6 and it comes with the glue. The only thing I will say is they come with tweezers. You ain't picking them hoes up with tweezers, y'all. You're not. You need one of these little gemstone things. I do recommend this if you're going to do this craft. This one came in another thing that I had, and this also came with another gemstone thing that I had, but I do recommend them. I recommend both styles if you can get them. I like this one because the whole tip of this is the like waxy material. So I can just like roll it inside of the thing and pull out all the gems that I want. And then I use this to pick them up one by one and stick them in the glue. They work. They work perfectly. And this is what I use for that. But I'm loving doing this. I've been doing this during my lunch break. It's really fun. I'm just having a good time doing it. I'll give you like a more close-up look at it. Like, look at the blood. The blood part is like one of my faves. I just love the way the blood looks. But like, it's just so fun. And I can't wait because I want to display this on the bookshelves that I never did, but that I will get to at some point. My light went out. It got real dark in here. Oh, the power might go out. It's about to rain outside. Sorry for the lighting change. Anyway, other general fave things that I'm enjoying. Gaming. Your girl's back into gaming again. And my favorite thing that I'm doing right now gaming wise is playing Paralives. Oh my God. I love Sims. I was a Sims girl. Really enjoyed Sims. I had been playing Sims probably like last year. I had played it for a little while and then just got off of it and was like doing other things. But Paralives, it's still like in game, like they're still working on it. But I did get into that one this year and that was so much fun. I'm enjoying it so far. It's like I said, still in development and everything. But they do have it where you can be like kind of a beta tester, if you will, for the game. And it's so fun. I'm enjoying it so much. It's so great. So that's a game that I've been really into. Movies that I am obsessed with so far this year. Project Hail Mary and Obsession. Y'all, those were some good movies, okay? Project Hail Mary was great. I will say that I read the book and then watched the movie, and thusly I found the book more intriguing than the movie. I did cry in the movie still, but not like I did when I read the book. So there's that. Obsession, amazing. Amazing movie. Creepy, weird, just horrifyingly amazing for the budget that they had and everything. Like, it's just a good movie. I know that everyone's talking about it. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend watching it if you like horror movies. I thought it was great. And then our final thing that I wanted to talk about was some of my favorite YouTube channels that I'm enjoying. I'm very much into BookTube, but I talk about my BookTube friends all the time. I will do like a special mention of one of my favorite booktubers right now, and that is Spicy Cat. She's got me into being whimsical again. You know what? She's just having fun with life, and I want to have fun with life too. And she's really just gotten me back into this feeling of like enjoying things and having fun and whimsy and not taking everything so seriously. And I don't know, I'm just really appreciating her content right now, and I'm obsessed with her. So if you aren't subscribed to her, this is her channel. I will link it in the comments below, the description, whatever. Love her. Some other mentions. Matt Bernstein. I love Matt Bernstein. He is the creator of A Bit Fruity podcast. He does have the podcast on YouTube, but it is under his name. I absolutely love that podcast. It's one of my favorites. I love a social commentary thing. I'm very much into that stuff. So I'm loving that one. And then we also have Brooke Sharks. She is a commentary YouTuber, but she's also a comedian in a way. She's great. If you ever liked Chad on YouTube, you will love Brooke Sharks. Her and Chad actually did a collab together recently, so very, very much enjoy. And then finally, Cozy K. I love Cozy K. I think she's amazing. She's so fun. She's so funny. She's whimsical. She's enjoyable. She's kind, and I love her channel. She also does gaming, so I love watching her gaming stuff. So those are my YouTubers that I'm really into right now. All right, my dudes. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here at my mid-year freakout tag. If you want to do this and you're a bookish person, tag you're it. do it. But also, thank you all so much for being here. If you have any questions or anything interesting that you want to discuss, please feel free to leave a comment. I reply to all my comments down below. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of July. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you should do that. It's very, very odd and weird behavior to be here watching me talk about things like this and you aren't subscribed. It feels like spying in a way if you think about it too much. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll have a great rest of July, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.